I know you've already exhausted all your options. You've taken courses, tried waking up early, made lists of goals, put your dreams on paper, promised to change your life on a New Year's Eve, but the results never materialized. And perhaps, right at this moment, you're paused, asking yourself, why does nothing seem to work for me? Why do I see others prospering, growing, starting businesses, traveling, turning aspirations into reality, while I'm stuck in a struggle, repeating the same patterns and watching the months slip by as if nothing ever changes? The truth is, there's a reason for it, and it's not a lack of dedication, intellect, or skill. There's an invisible block that traps millions of people in the same place without them even realizing it. Most go through life without truly understanding what's happening. But today, you're going to uncover it. I wasn't born into privilege. I didn't grow up with abundant opportunities. I was never seen as someone highly capable. I dropped out of school prematurely, without a diploma, with no future prospects, and no strategy whatsoever. I worked jobs that only required physical labor, changing tires, pumping gas, lubricating engines, doing whatever came my way just to get by. For a long time, I was convinced my path was predetermined. Perhaps you've experienced something similar. That feeling that the world is moving forward, and you're stuck. As if there's a blocked path between the reality you're living and the life you aspire to. I felt that every single day. However, the great enigma, what few people realize, is that this opening isn't found externally. It doesn't depend on degrees, connections, wealth, government, or a recession. It resides within us. And when this understanding truly sets in, when you grasp that your outer existence is merely a reflection of what's happening internally, everything changes. Most people live convinced that the world shapes their identity. But the reality is that your identity shapes the world. When you live without discerning this, you wake up every morning waiting for something to change, but nothing does, because nothing has changed internally. And that's precisely what I want you to grasp right now. There is no definitive failure, there is only mental programming. An individual can be talented, insightful, diligent, and yet remain stagnant because deep down, they harbor a self-perception that declares, I'm not capable, I don't deserve it, it's not meant for me, it's too complicated, it's already too late. How many times have you had similar thoughts? How many times have you convinced yourself that you weren't born to accumulate wealth, that success is a privilege for a select few, that life is, by its very nature, a struggle? The greatest prison on earth has no bars, it's made of beliefs. I experienced this firsthand. I remember when, as a young man, my future seemed so small it could fit into a briefcase. I was working at the fire department, earning meager wages, constantly exhausted, and frankly, I saw no way out. Until someone placed a book in my hands. Just one volume. In just a few pages, it accomplished something years of living hadn't. It changed my perspective. While everyone around me was debating price increases, salaries, politics, debts, adversities, that book discussed a different topic, the power of human cognition. It stated that we don't have to accept the current circumstances, we can build the circumstances we desire. This struck me like lightning. I began to ponder, what if my perception of myself is wrong? What if my capacity is far greater than I imagine? What if, in reality, I am the sole architect in building the person I can become? That ignited an internal fire. Perhaps you're sensing something similar right now. And that's when the first big turning point happened. I didn't change the economic landscape, I didn't alter my income, I didn't benefit from a sudden stroke of luck. What transformed was my psychological orientation. And as I transformed, the environment reacted. I left my job and started a small cleaning company. A modest venture, one no one would call monumental. Yet, I possessed the crucial element many lack, a renewed self-perception. I trusted that I could prosper. And I did. In less than 12 months, I achieved sales exceeding $100,000, without a degree, without professional background, and with zero knowledge of entrepreneurship. It seems inconceivable, but allow me to ask you something. How many situations in your journey have you faced and felt, I can't do this, when in reality, what was missing wasn't skill, but conviction? If you currently find yourself striving and nothing is materializing, Perhaps the only reality is this: you're looking externally for a solution to something that requires internal resolution. Everything begins with self-perception. If you perceive yourself as a limited individual, your existence will remain limited. If you see yourself as small, your successes will stay small. And if you truly aspire to transform your trajectory, it's fundamental to grasp something perhaps no one has revealed to you until this day: you are not in conflict with the world, you are in conflict with the self-image you were conditioned to believe in your inadequacy. And now, before we continue, I ask you to perform a simple action: reflect on everything you long for and haven't yet achieved. Then, ask yourself, which manifestation of my identity am I trying to employ to achieve this goal? Because if that manifestation doesn't change, nothing will. This is merely the beginning. What follows will open up even more perspectives. Upon realizing that my self-perception governed my existence, everything became clear. I observed that countless individuals wake up daily with a silent sense of despair, not because they lack opportunities, but because they harbor a thought structure that invariably leads them back to the same circumstances. How many times have you decided you would change, start fresh, that this time would be different, and after a few days, everything returned to the usual pattern? It's not a lack of drive, it's your subconscious core directing you back to what it perceives as ordinary. And if your pattern is to subsist without financial resources, with fear and limitations, then, even when you try to move forward, something deep inside pulls you back to your previous state. It's like trying to drive a car with the handbrake engaged. Most people assume that change comes from new information, readings, practices. However, genuine transformation occurs when you change your perception of who you believe yourself to be. Scientific research has repeatedly demonstrated this. When an individual reiterates adverse financial experiences, their psyche forges deeply rooted emotional ties that intensify fear, discouragement, and incompetence. And when these bonds solidify, the brain performs its primary function: to safeguard you, even if that means hindering your progress. That's why so many express fear of demanding more for their services, of asking for a salary increase, of starting a business, of taking risks. They don't fear external repercussions, they fear confronting their inner beliefs. I vividly recall when I decided to found my first venture. I had no experience, no education, no security. I carried only one burning question within me: what if the problem was never external? What if the obstacle was always the way I perceived myself? Many people looked at me with distrust. Some laughed. Others said I was foolish to leave a secure job to clean carpets. But have you ever noticed how most people who offer advice about your journey haven't achieved the accomplishments you aspire to? The world is full of armchair experts who have never achieved significant success. And if you heed the advice of such people, you end up living their lives, not your own. And allow me to ask you something right now: how many times have you backed away from taking a risk because someone assured you that you wouldn't succeed? How many opportunities have you already lost due to fear of others' judgments? How many times have you envisioned something grand, something that truly propelled you internally, only to then hear that inner voice proclaiming, "That's not for me"? When you think small, your existence becomes small. When you think big, your world expands. For many, this mere shift in mindset would be enough to double their income, open up unforeseen possibilities, and build a life that previously seemed unattainable. However, now I need you to take an important action. If these words resonate, if you feel they connect with your reality, if you're appreciating this material, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. This might just be an icon on the interface, but for this platform, it's the difference between this content reaching a wider audience or getting lost among millions of audio-visual productions. By clicking like and subscribing, you signal to the platform that this topic is relevant, that people need to hear this, that this communication transforms lives. So, if this is truly providing you value, reciprocate with a simple gesture. This allows us to continue presenting material that genuinely changes the way you perceive the world. Returning, the crucial turning point in my life happened when I realized it wasn't enough just to desire success, I needed to become someone capable of managing it. And this is one of the core reasons why so many individuals falter once they finally achieve what they've always desired. Have you ever observed how countless celebrities amassed fortunes only to lose it all, ruin their own lives, and descend into addiction, melancholy, and instability. Often, they achieve external success but haven't developed the internal framework to truly handle it. Mike Tyson, for instance, became a prodigy, accumulating wealth that most people will never even dream of, yet he eventually squandered nearly all of it because his mindset never strengthened in proportion to his career. Money merely amplifies who you already are. If you don't truly know yourself, it can prove to be your undoing. Conversely, there are those who have completely transformed their lives precisely by altering their mental programming before prosperity ever manifested. Oprah Winfrey serves as a powerful illustration. She emerged from immense adversity, facing situations that would have emotionally shattered most individuals, yet she cultivated such a powerful vision of who she could become that her path had no choice but to unfold exactly as it did. She understood that external reality bends to a determined mind. And this truth held constant, even when no one else believed in her. Now, I invite you to consider a simple question. What kind of mindset are you cultivating right now? Is it the mind that simply repeats old patterns, or the mind that chooses to envision a new existence? Because neutrality doesn't exist. You're either repeating the past or actively building your future. And if you truly yearn to experience the genuine results of this transformation, here's a challenge for you. For the next 7 days, as soon as you wake up and before touching your mobile phone, speak aloud a sentence that embodies your renewed self. Something along the lines of, I possess the power to forge the life I desire, or, I am worthy of progressing, flourishing, and experiencing the absolute best the world has to offer. Speak this truth before the external world attempts to contradict it. 7 days. It's a short span of time, yet you'll be astonished by the profound impact it can have on your mood and the way you perceive your opportunities. Because when your thinking transforms, everything changes. And from this point forward, we'll delve much deeper. As I began to deeply understand how the mind governs our existence, I realized something that completely flips the dynamic. No one fails due to a lack of opportunity, no one stagnates because of a deficiency in skill, no one remains inert simply because life has closed doors. The true reason most people don't progress is that, deep down, they don't believe they are worthy of the next level. It sounds simple, but it's utterly destructive. You might have beautiful aspirations written down on paper, you might watch inspiring videos, you might constantly tell yourself you want to earn more money, enjoy greater serenity, or build your own business. Yet, if, in your innermost being, deep within your subconscious, you still perceive yourself as small, uncertain, restricted, undeserving, or incompetent, your psyche will sabotage any undertaking you attempt externally. Academia has validated this premise countless times. The human brain operates to keep you within familiar territory, even if that territory is uncomfortable. It prefers to repeat a painful but known existence rather than venturing into a new one it doesn't yet understand. This is why a vast segment of the population spends decades repeating the same financial mistakes, choosing identical patterns in relationships, self-sabotaging at crucial moments, and delaying initiatives that could redefine their entire paths. The psyche establishes an internal thermostat. It prevents you from transcending the boundaries of the self-image it has already accepted as true. If an individual believes they can only earn a certain amount monthly, they might switch jobs, start new businesses, try various things, yet, ultimately, they will invariably return to that same level. Your existence always conforms to your core essence. I experienced this firsthand. The moment I started to accumulate more money, a truly intriguing phenomenon occurred. My external world progressed. I was expanding, earning more, growing my operations, yet, internally, my self-perception remained that of an uneducated young person, lacking merit, lacking confidence. And when this disparity arises, the subconscious begins to orchestrate ways to bring you back to square one. Suddenly, inexplicable failures start to occur, misguided decisions emerge, detours appear out of nowhere, unnecessary expenses crop up, successes dwindle, not because you're disorganized, but because your psyche is determined to restore the previous level. I experienced this struggle firsthand. For a period, I was earning well but spending poorly. The money would come in, but it would just vanish. And this lesson revealed one of the most profound truths I've ever uncovered: if you don't transform internally, what you gain externally will inevitably slip through your fingers. Have you ever considered if this situation has played out in your own life? Perhaps you received a salary increase, but then unforeseen expenses immediately emerged, absorbing the entire amount. Maybe you managed to save money for a few months, only for something to compel you to empty that account again. Or perhaps you started a new venture, and, mysteriously, lost your momentum, focus, or enthusiasm. Many attribute this to bad luck. However, bad luck doesn't repeat itself with such precise accuracy. This is a psychological configuration. Individuals who don't feel worthy of progress sabotage their own abundance. Those who fear embracing affection compromise their relationships. People who hold the belief that success requires suffering create burdensome lives for themselves. Your external world is merely a reflection of the narrative you tell yourself daily. And don't assume this only happens to everyday individuals. Prominent celebrities, entrepreneurs, and public figures have also been targets of this intrinsic conflict. Consider the trajectory of Amy Winehouse. A phenomenal voice, unparalleled talent, a meteoric rise, yet, deep within, she carried psychological wounds and a persona ill-equipped to confront the reality her gift had garnered. The consequence, self-destruction. Not for lack of opportunity, but because her internal mental framework couldn't match her external environment. Triumph without an emotional foundation often transforms into misfortune. And this holds true for every human being, renowned or unknown. In contrast, there are equally inspiring accounts of transformation when the mental disposition shifts first. Jim Carrey, for instance, before rising to become one of Hollywood's most prominent figures, would daily write out the mental blueprint of the person he aspired to be. Before he gained fame, before he had wealth, before he achieved recognition, he already envisioned himself as an individual of immense stature. He carried a figurative check for $10 million in his pocket, with the amount written out in full, predicted for the future, as if it were already a concrete reality. He was priming his self-perception to embrace the magnitude of the life that would follow. And the universe responded. However, let's discuss more everyday, practical circumstances, because perhaps you're not an artistic luminary or a renowned athlete, maybe you're an ordinary individual, seeking to make advancements that seem small, but which hold the potential to completely transform your life. Many individuals aspire to start a business but hold back due to fear of family criticism. They wish to acquire new knowledge, but their inner voice proclaims, "You're already too old for that." They long for higher pay, yet they tell themselves, "No one will ever pay me that much." What they fail to realize is that they protect their own limitations more than they nurture their own capabilities. It's akin to someone spending their entire life clipping their own wings, and then complaining they can't fly. Now, I want to offer you a simple, yet profound, question. What narrative have you been constructing about your own identity? When you describe yourself in your mind, who do you truly believe yourself to be? Because it is this very self-perception that is shaping your current experience. If you desire a renewed existence, you need to start articulating a new story about yourself. Your present circumstances are irrelevant. What truly matters is the destination you choose for yourself. Your environment might even pressure you, but you always retain the prerogative to define your own self-image. We now move into the realm of practical application. Throughout this upcoming week, pay close attention to every unfavorable belief that surfaces regarding your finances, your capabilities, or your future. Don't confront it directly. Simply identify it and ask, does this truly correspond to the truth, or is it merely an idea I've repeated so many times that it's taken on the guise of reality? When you begin to question your deeply held beliefs, a powerful phenomenon unfolds. They start to lose their grip. And as they lose their grip, you begin to truly grow. And this is just the beginning. In our upcoming discussions, we will explore in much greater depth the mindset that truly transforms lives. The moment I finally grasped that my mind was the true source of my achievements, I devoted myself to studying human behavior with an fervor bordering on obsession. My aim was to discern why some individuals thrive while others spend an entire lifetime yearning for a transformation that never quite materializes. And one of the most striking observations I've uncovered is that the vast majority of people have never truly developed the ability to reason fully. They are taught to repeat data, memorize facts, and obey commands, yet, they are not shown how to build a mental picture of the life they desire and sustain it powerfully enough until the external world is compelled to align with that vision. This explains why many dedicate themselves relentlessly to their studies and still persist in fear, uncertainty, indecision, and a lack of tangible results. Knowledge alone doesn't transform life. What changes it is self-image combined with consistent, unwavering practice. And this is scientifically founded. Studies indicate that approximately 95% of our decisions are made by the subconscious before we even become aware of them. This implies that your existence isn't guided by who you believe yourself to be, but rather by who you've habitually manifested yourself as. For this reason, it's possible to have ambitious goals written down in a journal and still live an ordinary routine. The purpose resides in the conscious mind, but daily life is governed by automatic actions. Imagine someone who decides to improve their physical fitness. This person eagerly enrolls at the gym, buys new workout clothes, plans their exercises. However, after 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they revert to their old patterns. It's not for lack of a desire to change, it's because their psyche doesn't yet identify them as vigorous, organized, or robust. Habit follows essence. Experience reflects self-perception. And with financial resources, the dynamic is identical. How many individuals do you know who lament a lack of funds, yet persist in superfluous spending, impulsive purchases, poor management, and postponing crucial decisions? This isn't a lack of calculation, it's a lack of discernment. The mind of someone who considers themselves poor makes choices that perpetuate such a scenario. In contrast, someone who visualizes themselves as affluent takes entirely different actions, even with scarce resources. The essence precedes. The outcome follows. If there's no internal change, one can accumulate more wealth and still live with apprehension, regret, or the constant impression that something could fail at any moment. At this juncture, I wish to recount a memory that left an indelible mark on my journey. Early in my career, as my venture began to flourish, I started traveling, giving lectures, conversing with individuals, and sharing what I was learning. And something deeply captured my attention. I encountered remarkable, capable, insightful people who were suffering. Individuals with family foundations, wisdom, and competence, yet living with a fear of the future, trapped by past traumas, experiencing a present that constantly felt inferior to their abilities. During one of these exchanges, I recall speaking with a gentleman who had dedicated many years of his time to a corporation, earning meager wages, disillusioned with life, yet possessing an exceptional aptitude for drawing. He showed me a portfolio of illustrations so excellent they could easily feature in periodicals, magazines, or advertising departments. When I asked why he wasn't pursuing that professionally, he looked down and said, "The truth is, I don't feel capable enough." Yet, he was. However, his own mind prevented him from accepting that reality. At that moment, I was gripped by a profound anguish as I realized, the world isn't teeming with incapable individuals. It's filled with people who doubt themselves. How many talents have been buried because someone heard a "you won't succeed" at a tender age? How many brilliant career paths never materialized because the individual compared themselves to others and concluded they weren't enough? How many companies were never founded because the entrepreneur placed more faith in fear than in their future? It's probable that this has already happened to you. Perhaps you've had a desire that you dismissed. Perhaps you allowed an idea to die out before even trying. Perhaps you lost faith in yourself by focusing too much on the external and not enough on the internal. The psyche has the capacity to build empires, but equally to ruin destinies. And if you rigorously examine the annals of eminent figures in human history, you'll discern a clear trait. Thomas Edison experienced countless failures, on thousands of occasions, before conceiving the incandescent filament. Do you think an individual stumbles so many times and persists in their attempts if they don't possess an absolutely unyielding internal perception? Henry Ford was mocked when he declared he would manufacture an engine with 8 cylinders in a single block. Engineering experts asserted its infeasibility, but he persevered until what seemed unachievable came to fruition. It's not circumstances that shape your journey, but rather the magnitude of the perspective you cultivate internally. Those with clear vision triumph even in times of deprivation. Those who lack clear vision succumb even amidst opulence. Let's now carry this idea into daily life. Imagine someone who leaves their home daily for work, using crowded public transport, confronting traffic jams, dedicating themselves to the fullest. However, this individual's psyche is incessantly bombarded by adverse communications, the news reporting calamities, loved ones affirming difficulties, companions proclaiming immutability, colleagues complaining about their wages. How do you suppose such a person will build a fortunate mindset if their entire environment confirms scarcity? It's inconceivable. The mental faculty demands to be cultivated just like a garden. If you don't choose what to sow, weeds proliferate. If you don't choose what to listen to, fear spreads. If you don't decide which influences will penetrate your consciousness, the universe will make that decision for you, and the universe rarely opts for magnificence. And now a point of utmost importance arises. If you aspire to transform your existence, it's imperative that you mentally shield yourself from everything that reinforces the situation you long to abandon. This means reducing your intake of harmful news, distancing yourself from conversations that depress you, and solidifying each day what you yearn to build. It's unfeasible to dedicate your entire day to feeding apprehension and expect to generate courage. It's impossible to spend the entire day hearing that the global condition is deteriorating and aim to convince yourself that your own existence can improve. The subconscious domain assimilates all impressions, and converts them into concrete manifestations. Therefore, I present to you a simple and effective practice. Over the coming 3 days, select only one element, just one, that you recognize as a factor of mental discouragement, and temporarily remove it. It could be an individual, a habit, a source of information, material that makes you feel inadequate. Choose one and discard it. Concurrently, incorporate a beneficial routine as straightforward as listening to 10 minutes daily of inspiring content. Only this. For a period of 3 days. You'll be astonished by the repercussions. Because small-scale internal modifications generate large-scale external transformations. And now, our explanation isn't concluded yet. In the subsequent section, we'll delve into the moment when individuals truly initiate a fundamental change. It's at this stage that all aspects begin to harmonize. The instant one begins to grasp that everything in the cosmos reacts to the vibration you choose to emanate, a potent effect occurs within you. You cease to feel hostage to situations and begin to perceive yourself as the conscious architect of your own experience. And it's at this moment that countless individuals are amazed to realize they weren't, in fact, failing, but merely creating by inertia, devoid of purpose, without a definite direction, reacting to their surroundings instead of controlling their energetic frequency. Observe that vibrational resonance precedes the act. If you act driven by fear, apprehension, urgency, or an anxious longing, the execution might be grand, but the result will be minimal. However, if the resonance stems from conviction, belief, abundance, solidity, and completeness, even modest actions generate more significant outcomes than you would conceive. For the cosmos doesn't react to what you do. The universe responds to what you embody as you do it. And by truly assimilating this notion, you understand that your sole daily responsibility is this, to harmonize your frequency before any undertaking. It's for this reason that I always affirm that those who operate in automatic mode squander life's most precious opportunity, that of deliberating how they wish to feel, reason, and resonate. It's not about disregarding obstacles, but rather facing them with elevated clarity, with a viewpoint that already encompasses the resolution even before the issue fully manifests. Most human beings seek to repair existence in an extrinsic to intrinsic manner. They yearn to witness the alteration, only then to experience an improvement in their state. However, the rule has never operated this way. The appropriate order is always, feel first, then receive. Resonate first, then actualize. Metamorphosis is intrinsic before it becomes extrinsic. In view of this, the fruits you currently harvest are the irrefutable evidence of the frequency you maintained the day before, the preceding week, the past month. Nothing operates against you. Everything is reacting to you. The profound benefit lies in this: the very instant you shift your vibration, reality immediately begins a process of restructuring itself. Your thoughts transform, you uncover distinct opportunities, you attract new people, and you perceive paths that were once entirely imperceptible. It's akin to tuning into a different radio station. The melody that begins to play always corresponds to the sound wave you've selected. Now, the secret to translating this understanding into a lasting and unshakable reality is consistent practice. Feeling good once, visualizing once, or believing once is simply not enough. The cosmos responds to what is repeated, to what solidifies within you. This is why many practice affirmations for 2 or 3 days and then give up, thinking, it didn't work. The flaw was never in the methodology, but in the absence of vibrational constancy. It's like planting a seed and then digging it up daily to see if it has sprouted. If you desire remarkable results, you must cultivate a disciplined mind. Not rigid, but self-mastered. One that can choose its thoughts, rather than being held captive by them. One that maintains its vibrational alignment, even when the external landscape hasn't yet shifted. Because the world changes asterisk after asterisk, you transform, never before. Given that you've now understood that the universe responds to your frequency, it's essential to move on to an aspect that distinguishes those who consistently create from those who experience merely sporadic outcomes, the ability to shield your vibration from environmental influences. Indeed, if you don't control your attention, the world will control it for you. Daily, you are exposed to unfavorable information, restrictive conversations, places that don't contribute to your evolution, individuals with limited perspectives, and if you're not vigilant, you'll end up absorbing energies that don't align with the reality you aspire to build. Consequently, unconsciously, you will begin to resonate with uncertainty, fear, indecision, comparison, and lack, not by your choice, but by allowing your surroundings to decide. The key isn't to withdraw from the world, but to build such a potent inner core that external factors no longer influence your emotional state. It's at this juncture that we address one of the most impactful premises: you don't attract what you aspire to, but rather what you are capable of holding in your vibrational frequency, despite adversity. This represents spiritual wisdom applied to your very own journey of self-improvement. And how is such a feat achieved? It begins with the vigilance of your own mind. Most individuals have never been taught to monitor their own thoughts. They assume that everything cognition generates is factual. However, it's crucial to understand, the mind is an instrument, not a master. It reflects your predispositions, your past experiences, your deeply rooted fears. If you neglect to train your mind, it will persist in reproducing behaviors you didn't even intentionally choose. Thus, when an unfavorable concept manifests, avoid confronting it, refuting it, suppressing it, or ignoring it. Simply identify it as mental activity and readjust your vibrational energy, much like a driver who regains control of the steering wheel and steers the vehicle onto the proper path. Thoughts do not hold dominion over you, it is you who determines which ones persist. Vibrational consistency begins this way: you discern your emotions, understand their origin, and deliberately select the new pattern you yearn to manifest. As time progresses, this practice becomes automated. You become able to sustain alignment even in turbulent situations. And at this stage, external transformations begin to unfold with greater swiftness, given that your vibration, at last, stabilizes. Many individuals ask, why do I feel that nothing changes in my life? The explanation, generally, is straightforward: because their vibrational energy fluctuates 10, 20, 30 times throughout the day. They seek abundance in the morning, but emit apprehension at lunchtime. They desire a new emotional connection, but reverberate discouragement when recalling the past. They yearn for opportunities, but propagate lack whenever they check their bank statement. The cosmos does not react to what you long for, it reacts to what you maintain. And when you adopt and sustain the emotional state that mirrors your desired outcome, even before its materialization, it is at that very point that astounding manifestation takes place. Opportunities emerge. Pathways unfold. The right individuals appear. Innovative ideas surface. Coincidences cease to be mere chance occurrences. You begin to coexist in the exact resonance of what you yearn for. And remember, no genuine change takes effect merely from what you hear. It materializes when you choose to put it into practice, experience it, and harmonize with that wisdom daily. You already hold, deep within you, everything essential to build a reality grander, more abundant, and more expansive than any prior experience. The ideal vibration is already accessible, merely awaiting your choice to persist in it with constancy. I wish that you continue to allow yourself to evolve, to amplify your perception, and to occupy the space that has always belonged to you. And if this material has resonated with you in any way, please share it with someone valuable who could also benefit from this message and elevate their own resonance. Such an action generates a robust transformative flow that far surpasses your capacity for conception, and I remain by your side on this journey.